Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. Sealed in Kunlun, was blown out by a starship. Why is Kunlun Mountain constantly guarded by heavy troops? Why does the high-dimensional civilization keep a respectful distance from Kunlun? What secrets are hidden deep in the Kunlun Mountains? What is buried in this ancient mountain range, which has been endowed with various mythological colors since ancient times? Time flies. 500 years later, Earth was invaded by interstellar space, and human civilization has been locked down by extraterrestrial technology for 2 centuries. More than 2,000 spacecrafts outside Earth exploded together. At a time when humanity around the world is almost desperate. The wreckage of a burning Earth starship crashed into Kunlun Mountain, accidentally shattering the decaying bronze door. The next moment, a figure slowly walked out of it. On that day, everyone saw a sword light rushing out of the earth, cutting off the mother ship. Splitting open the Milky WayFeilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Land Immortals, Star Wars Fall at Home. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha ha ha. Poor heavens. I'm finally approaching the land immortal. Kunlun. Endless snow mountain. The howling wind and heavy snow make this place shrouded in extreme cold year-round, with few human traces, known as a forbidden place for all living beings. In the vast mountains, for millions of years only strong winds have been howling, and even the boldest explorers dare not go to this place. But today, a thunderous sound suddenly sounded at the top of Kunlun Mountain. Ha ha ha. 500 years, a whole 500 years. 500 years of wind and sun, and 500 years of time have passed, finally allowing me to overcome this hurdle. The rolling sound waves shake all directions. Between heaven and earth, the heavy snow suddenly shattered. Accompanied by this sound, on the top of Kunlun Mountain, colorful streams of light rise into the sky. These flowing lights, with ripples that tear apart everything, appear like auroras in the sky, fiercely strangling the hundreds of thousands of meters of snow on the top of Kunlun Mountain. Brush. Accompanied by magnificent aurora. A figure appeared in the sky. He was dressed in a blue robe, with a handsome appearance. His long black hair was casually draped in front and behind him, and streams of light turned into feather weaving, surrounding him. At the moment he first appeared, the endless blizzard around him seemed to have been pressed the pause button, suddenly frozen in the void. The figure carries the breath of time, and looking around with eyes, it seems that there is a flow of heaven and earth, and time is spreading. The heavens have eyes. Finally, labor and capital can almost get out of this dilapidated place. Looking at his own hands, the young man was extremely excited and almost burst into tears. Lu Chen originally came from this parallel world of Earth. About 500 years ago, I traveled to this Earth and was bound to the strongest cultivation system. As long as one cultivates immortality, comprehends the way, spreads the way, or even accepts disciples, builds a sect, breaks through, and soars, rewards will be given for anything related to cultivating immortality. The only drawback is that this parallel world Earth is a completely technological Earth without any cultivators. Lu Chen, who had just learned all of this, was extremely excited and felt like he had arrived in heaven. The only cultivator in the world. What kind of disadvantage is this? Shouldn't it be an advantage? The strongest cultivation system, so many can receive rewards. As long as you deceive a few people, create a sect, and accept 2 disciples, isn't that invincible? This kind of game that can almost be invincible with just his fingertips, Lu Chen couldn't even imagine how to lose. However, just as Lu Chen was eagerly preparing to use his deceitful tricks and descend the mountain to cultivate immortality adhering to the principle that the strongest cultivation system requires the strongest, the host must reach the land immortal realm. Only after reaching the land immortal realm can one descend the mountain and start cultivating immortals. The power of the mortal world. This news is like a bolt from the blue. The strongest cultivation system of Nima, together they want me to be invincible, right? Because according to the system, this land immortal realm is the crossing calamity realm in the cultivation world. Only after crossing the realm of calamity can one go down the mountain to experience the world of mortals. Do you want to hang like this? Nima, I have crossed the realm of calamity and I am still going to recruit a disciple of Hammer. Why bother me so much and create a damn sect? Hey! Experience a ghost in the mortal world. I am already a land immortal. Is there anything else on earth that can be fought? Are you invincible after leaving the level? However, no matter how much Lu Chen collapses, it cannot change the fact that he cannot go down the mountain. A terrifying formation surrounds the entire Kunlun Mountains, and without reaching the land immortals, it is impossible to break through the formation. At first, Lu Chen squatted at the foot of the Kunlun Mountains, staring at the heavy snow and begging for someone to get lost and come to Kunlun. So he can be saved, taken as a disciple to try, and then use the system to increase cultivation. 10 years have passed, and not a single figure has appeared here. Except for the wind and snow, it's just ice residue. Lu Chen, who was almost desperate, could only pick up the newbie gift pack technique rewarded by the system and embark on a long journey of asceticism this cultivation. It's a full 490 years. And today, I am finally approaching the land immortal. Finally, it's almost time. Do you know how I came through these 500 years? Sun Monkey is not as miserable as me. Tears streamed down his face, and Lu Chen stood at the top of Kunlun Mountain. Countless spiritual energy from heaven and earth poured into his body from all directions, and the starlight incorporated it, making him shine with millions of rune rules all over his body. Looking from afar, it feels like a starry river hanging down. Looking at the glimmering lights of the city in the distance, Lu Chenhu's eyes were filled with tears. Flower world. Labor and capital are here. Wait a few more days for me, oh. Taking a deep breath, Lu Chen sat cross-legged with bright eyes, fully absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Although the bottleneck to reach the land immortal realm has been broken now, the next step of absorbing the spiritual energy from heaven and earth into the body is still extremely crucial. As long as you absorb enough spiritual energy from heaven and earth into your body, you can completely advance to land immortals. This is the most critical moment, and it is not an exaggeration to say that breaking through the land immortal realm at this time is no easier than crossing the bottleneck before. Even more dangerous. Deep in his mind, Lu Chen focused on his cultivation and overcoming obstacles. Brushing. As he began to cultivate, there was also a small vortex of colorful spiritual energy at the top of Kunlun Mountain, which condensed along with it. Under the vortex, a vast expanse of spiritual energy from heaven and earth rushed into Lu Chen's body like substance. With the influx of spiritual energy from heaven and earth, his body became increasingly crystal clear, and his breath became more mysterious. And just as Lu Chen was completely immersed in closed-door cultivation, bang, bang, bang. A loud noise gradually rose from the horizon. From small to large, gradually strengthening, in just about 10 seconds, it turned into a huge roar and fell directly towards the location of Kunlun Mountain. However, Lu Chen, who had already entered immersive cultivation, did not feel any of this at all. Next moment. A scorching flame exploded from beyond the sky on the Kunlun Mountains. Boom! A dazzling flame rose up in the sky. The terrifying impact directly caused half of Kunlun Mountain to shake. A huge explosion spread in all directions, and large snow-capped mountains collapsed, rolling avalanches filled the air. And this huge sound directly made Lu Chen, who had been immersed in the breakthrough of the closed door, suddenly stare wide. There was a riot of spiritual energy all over my body. What? Explosion. Meteorite. What is the situation with Nima? There hasn't been any movement for 500 years, why did such a loud noise suddenly come out while I was in seclusion? The endless rune rule bloomed, and Lu Chen managed to suppress his spiritual turmoil with both danger and danger, almost spitting out a mouthful of old blood. The veins on the forehead are bulging. Lu Chen took a deep breath and his face darkened as his divine consciousness spread out. Directly froze the avalanche that started with a loud bang in place, and pulled the falling objects from afar over. However, when Lu Chen saw the falling object clearly, he suddenly froze. That was a huge machine, like a small mountain, emitting electric sparks and falling into the snow. Pieces of LCD screens and solar panels were scattered around, and within the machine, there were figures wearing spacesuits that had already vaporized, lying in all directions inside. The entire debris is shining with the power of technology. Looking at the wreckage, Lu Chen looked bewildered. Is this special, a spaceship? Has human beings developed to this extent now? Old author's new book, quality guaranteed. The first day score is very important, and the requirements are not high. As long as there are 30 comments on the first day, even 123 is fine. Starting from the 15th on the first day. Chapter 2. The humans on Earth are a bit fierce. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The huge wreckage of a warship fell to the ground like a small mountain. It stretches for tens of thousands of meters, with occasional electric sparks bursting, and countless electronic screens turning white, shining with the power of technology. Looking at the astronauts wearing spacesuits but already burned to ashes, Lu Chen touched his chin and felt a bit confused. What the hell is that? Falling a spaceship. Have all the humans on Earth developed to this extent now? Have you been hanging out like this for hundreds of years? When I traveled back then, there was no such thing on Earth. I really don't know what has developed outside. Looking at the huge wreckage, Lu Chen's heart became increasingly hopeful about the outside world. Casually throwing the huge fragments of the spacecraft aside, Lu Chen took a deep breath and continued to close down. The world is dark and yellow, and the universe is vast and desolate. The sun and moon are full and narrow, and the stars do not set. Slowly reciting the cultivation method, Lu Chen quickly returned to the state of cultivation. However, what Lu Chen did not expect was, boom. A huge sound suddenly rang out again in Lu Chen's ear. The sudden sound immediately disrupted the flow of spiritual energy in Lu Chen's original body. You should know that this is the most critical moment. A slight change in the outside world can cause infinite changes. Faced with this sound, Lu Chen spewed out a mouthful of old blood. My veins were tense all over my body, my capillaries were shattered, and large amounts of blood surged out like mist. Lu Chen's eyes suddenly turned red, and he pinched the seal with his hand, roaring in a low voice. Give me town. The vast runes spread, and a round moon and a big sun suddenly appeared on Lu Chen's shoulder. A mysterious aura spread out, and it could barely squeeze the almost violent spiritual energy back into the body. Puff. A mouthful of old blood spurted out, and Lu Chen suddenly looked up. As expected. Another piece of spacecraft debris fell and hit Kunlun Mountain. But I haven't waited for Lu Chen to get angry yet. Boom boom. Bang, bang, bang. From above, there were two more flames, with long tails, falling down fiercely. Lu Chen's forehead has bulging veins. Still coming. It's not over, is it? If there's no sound for 500 years, I'll just shut up and do it twice. Suddenly stand up. Lu Chen looked at the two falling flames and slapped them out directly. Boom. Invisible power spreads between heaven and earth. The wreckage of those two crashed spacecraft shattered into flames in the air. Lu Chen waved his big sleeve. The storm swept over Kunlun Mountain, instantly turning the flames into nothingness. But Lu Chen's face remained gloomy. Because as these two flames exploded, for roaring flames came from the sky, it's not over, is it? Twist your wrist and lay a towering array on top of Kunlun Mountain. Infinite sword energy erupted, cutting off the four flames into pieces. Lu Chen looked up directly at the void, his eyes turning into the most brilliant golden color. Although Lu Chen is still unable to step out of the Kunlun Mountains, he is about to reach the land Immortal realm, and a little bit of divine knowledge can still be revealed. Divine consciousness emerges from the body. The dazzling golden light emanated from Lu Chen's body. Between Lu Chen's eyes, it seems like heaven and earth have opened up, and time has turned around. A strand of divine consciousness turned into a blade, tearing through Kunlun and squeezing out. In just a blink of an eye, it's like breaking through the upper troposphere and arriving in space. Labor and management need to see what it is today. The endless scenes, reflected in Lu Chen's divine consciousness, immediately left him stunned. Because in that universe, it was a completely unexpected scene for Lu Chen. In the pitch-black universe, there are huge spaceships arranged, aerospace carriers. These warships, each the size of a small hill, are flickering with various complex technological instrument indicator lights. At a glance, there were thousands of terror warships neatly arranged in the universe, now fully firing and fighting against a small spaceship. That small spaceship, extremely fast and hard, stared at the bombardment of thousands of aerospace carriers and directly penetrated countless aerospace carriers. Let them explode in the void one by one, shattering into sparks in the universe. In just a few minutes, hundreds of aerospace aircraft carriers were exploded in place. Seeing all of this, Lu Chenjie was stunned for a moment. Are the humans on Earth already so fierce? Surprisingly, the outer space war has already begun. I thought it was a failure to launch a spacecraft, and then the debris fell down. Unexpectedly, it was a space war. What is that little thing? How could such a small spaceship penetrate so many big guys? But soon, Lu Chen's face darkened. I don't care what kind of spaceship battle you are. Delaying my seclusion can still keep you alive. The divine sense locks onto the small spaceship that is moving rapidly. On the distant Kunlun Mountains, Lu Chen suddenly opened his eyes. The endless flow of spiritual energy in heaven and earth. Ice and snow within tens of thousands of meters slowly surged in, gradually condensing into a transparent long sword in front of Lu Chen. Lu Chen grabbed the hilt of the sword and twisted his wrist. There are no sword moves. There were no deliberate actions either. I slashed straight into the sky with one sword. Table tennis, the long sword shattered. Next moment. The snowy Kunlun Mountains, with Lu Chen as the center and hundreds of thousands of zhang in circumference, seemed like a mud cow flipping over and boiling uncontrollably. Wind and waves rise on the flat ground. The world is dim. A storm surges. A terrifying and dazzling sword aura stretching tens of thousands of zhang suddenly rose into the sky. Old author's new book, quality guaranteed. The first day score is very important, and the requirements are not high. As long as there are 30 comments on the first day, even 123 is fine. Starting from the 15th on the first day. Chapter 3. Civilization arrives beyond light years, artworks descend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Not long ago, on the Kunlun Mountain, Lu Chen swung out the heavenly sword in the pitch-black universe. 2,000 warships lay horizontally in space. Each of them is the size of a mountain, several kilometers long, in a neat formation, lying in front of the Earth. From a distance, it feels like a steel city wall, spanning between the Earth and the starry sky of the universe. And before these warships, there was a small warship, millions of people in the joint fleet, watching the footage coming from within. There is an alien probe floating in the picture. It hovers in mid-air, like a beautiful artwork, like droplets of water, with an absolute radiance on its surface, like a mirror, without any visible wrinkles. Around the detector, there are 4 figures carefully studying. 2 captains dressed in warships. A scientist named Shizi Women's Fleet. There is also an old man with white hair that looks like Einstein. What is the displayed multiplier now? The old man asked in a deep voice. It's already 10,000 times, and the surface is still absolutely brilliant, Shizi replied in a deep voice. The old man frowned tightly. The old man's name is Ding Yi. He is an old man 2 centuries ago, a renowned PhD in atomic science, and the founder of controllable nuclear fusion. Even though it has been dormant for 2 centuries, it still holds a significant reputation and authority in today's scientific world. Adjust to 100,000 times. Ding Yi spoke. The image of the electron tunnel microscope was magnified for a moment, still showing a smooth mirror surface. 1,000,000 times. Smooth mirror finish. 10,000,000 times. At this magnification, the molecular structure can already be seen, but the display on the microscope is still absolutely brilliant. Seeing the old man and 3 fleet members still studying the appearance of water droplets, countless people frowned on the distant battleship. How exactly was this water droplet made? Such a smooth mirror, even after being magnified 10,000,000 times, still remains a smooth mirror, which is completely impossible for human technology to achieve. Today's human technology, not to mention 10,000,000 times, even after being magnified 1,000 times, the most precise technological products of humanity will become as bumpy as the surface of the moon. How did these 3-body civilizations achieve this step? Just as many fleet members were seriously contemplating all of this. In that scene, a hoarse and desperate voice suddenly came out, filled with fear and despair. Run! Silly children, run quickly. This is Dr. Ding Yi. Run! Why did he say run? Before many fleet captains can react, a dazzling light suddenly burst out. Boom! Brilliant flames bloom. The battleship Praying Mantis, which came into contact with water droplets, almost exploded in an instant. A small rainbow shuttles up. Before everyone could react, it was in an instant that they crossed a long distance and boldly penetrated the nearest huge warship to the Mantis, the Galileo. What's wrong? What happened? The numerous fleet members on the Galileo were taken aback, only feeling a slight tremble in the hull, as if it had been hit by something. But they haven't turned around yet. Endless flames suddenly engulfed them. Boom boom. Galileo. Endless flames. Burst in the pitch-black universe. All members of the space fleet, looking at this scene, their pupils have all shrunk to the size of a needle. What's going on here? What happened? What happened to Galileo? Galileo. Countless people feel cold in their hearts, completely unaware of what has happened. But then, boom boom boom. Another 4 brilliant evolution blooms silently in the universe. Polar iceberg. The nightingale. The Kentiras. The White Emperor. 4 star-class warships almost instantly turned into ashes. What happened? What's going on? Among the commanding battleships, a middle-aged man with blonde hair roared angrily, his expression extremely anxious. The flames of those 4 star-class warships exploding can be clearly seen almost without detectors. You should know that star-class battleships, each costing countless amounts, are the crystallization of global technological power. As long as they are created, there is no sign of a falling nation. But now, in just a few minutes, a whole 4 ships have been lost. Turn on the high-frequency detection radar. Quickly search for the cause. The orders of the fleet commander have not been fully issued yet, and in the distance, there are clusters of flames that suddenly burst into pieces. Fleet Commander-in-Chief. Old author's new book, quality guaranteed. The first day score is very important, and the requirements are not high. As long as there are 30 comments on the first day, even 123 is fine. Starting from the 15th on the first day. Chapter 4. I have a sword that can slay the sky. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Endless flames burst out. Under the scorching temperature, the warship exploded, transforming into dazzling fireballs and exploding in the pitch-black universe. What's going on here? Is it an attack from the Trisolaran side? This is abnormal. According to calculations, it should take at least hundreds of years for those Trisolaran's fleets to arrive. Looking at the constantly exploding warships, almost everyone in the fleet panicked. One warship after another shattered into flames. After about 100 warships were blown apart, news finally came out. Report to the overall commander, report to the overall commander. Report the fleet. Strike source, suspected to originate from the three-body civilization probe. Repetition. Strike source, suspected to come from water droplets, suspected to be water droplets. Water droplets penetrated the warship's nuclear power reactor, causing a series of chain reactions and leading to the warship's explosion. Our warships also. Sha sha sha. Before he could finish speaking, a series of rustling electric currents came from the communicator. David. David, what's wrong with you? Please answer the Olympian. Many fleet captains blushed and quickly turned their heads to see the constant star Olympian, transformed into a magnificent fire lotus in the universe. Calm down. It's just a detector, how can it be our opponent? Our human civilization has developed for so long, isn't it just to cope with today's situation? Everyone, listen. All fleets. Lock the water droplets. Fire all. The endless electromagnetic cannon was almost instantly mobilized. Countless steel warships roared in the universe, electromagnetic beams cutting through the cold universe and accurately intercepting water droplets. Boom boom boom. Hit. However, a scene that made all fleet members despair appeared. These high explosive armor-piercing shells, each one is enough to cause the mountains to collapse. A star-level warship equipped with numerous high-tech weapons, giving it enough time to even clear the surface of a planet. But this terrifying firepower, hitting those 3-meter-long droplets, only slowed down his forward speed a little. The merciless slaughter is still ongoing. It stared at countless gunfire, piercing through dozens of warships in just 1 minute. Faced with this water droplet, the attack of human weapons is like waves crashing on rocks, and it is impossible to cause any damage to it. All attacks have been blocked and bounced off. Water droplets demonstrate advanced killing techniques here, constantly piercing through the nuclear fuel compartments of one warship after another, crushing them into space. Hurry up. Fleet dispersed. Don't arrange them together. Large pieces of battleship wreckage are scattered throughout the universe, making it difficult for all warships to escape due to their intricate distribution. Continuously accelerating warships collide with the rapidly advancing debris, exploding into sparks along with the massive debris. Some fleets have not yet entered deep-sea mode, but have started to move at warp speed, and the instantaneous acceleration has brought unimaginable immense pressure. At a speed of 15% of the beam, the pressure brought on all fleet members instantly pulled towards the stern and crushed all their bones and organs on the steel, spreading out a thin layer of blood film. In just a few minutes, hundreds of fleets exploded into flames, and hundreds of thousands of elite space troops fell into the sky. Many remaining fleets were also shrouded in the midst of the explosive fleet, anxiously taking a detour to evacuate. But from the merciless slaughter speed of the water droplets, it is obviously extremely difficult to escape. The speed of water droplets accelerated, and in just 1 second, 2 Star-class warships exploded into flames. Seeing this scene, everyone in the fleet was shivering all over, feeling a chill surge from head to toe. Is it a 3-body civilization? I thought that in 2 centuries of exploration, humanity had already gained the power to confront the 3-body civilization. But to my surprise, the Trisolaran civilization only dispatched a drop of water, an inconspicuous drop of water and a detector from their technological ocean, crushing the most advanced combat power of the entire human civilization into fragments. The originally established belief collapsed with a loud bang. Faced with this almost insurmountable crushing victory, everyone has lost hope in their eyes. The space was filled with debris, and in just a few minutes, there were only around 300 of the original 2,000 aerospace carriers and battleships left. In the sparse space of the universe, many energies and firepower are also about to bottom out, trapped in the exploding fleet debris layer. Evacuation and escape are almost impossible. Looking at this scene. Above the Earth's surface, countless people at ground monitoring points stared wide-eyed, intimidated by this silent fear, their scalp tingling and their hands and feet cold. Is it possible that all human combat power will completely disappear here? What means do humans have to confront this terrifying and overwhelming force? However, just as everyone gave up hope, stopped struggling, and stared blankly at all of this, among the numerous spacecraft in space, the scanning systems of numerous constant star warships suddenly lit up. The sudden sound of dripping drops. Warning, warning, detected ultra-high energy reaction, please dodge quickly. Please dodge quickly. After hearing this prompt, the members of these star-class warships were stunned for a moment. Ultra-high energy response. Do water droplets still have energy attack methods? It's really not leaving anyone a way to survive. However, just as their thoughts had fallen, the alarm continued to sound. Detected ultra-high energy reaction originating from Earth. From Kunlun Mountain in ancient China. Kunlun in ancient China. All the fleet members were stunned for a moment. The next moment. It's not yet time for them to react. A dazzling beam of light. Suddenly rising from above the Earth, soaring into the sky. That is a golden terrifying light. Like a crescent-like arc, the length and width reached terrifying millions of zhang. It carried a wave that tore apart everything, breaking through the shattered and exploding layer of battleship wreckage, and instantly dividing the layer of wreckage surrounding the 300 battleships in two. Then, at a speed that was imperceptible to the naked eye, we accurately located the small water droplets that shuttle through the universe. Strike hard on top of it. Old author's new book, quality guaranteed. The first day score is very important, and the requirements are not high. As long as there are 30 comments on the first day, even 123 is fine. Starting from the 15th on the first day. Chapter 5. The Sword That Tears the Starry Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom, boom, boom. In the pitch-black universe, silent flames bloom. Space carriers, one after another, turned into huge fireballs in response to nuclear fuel tanks. All fleet members vaporized instantly within 1,000th of a second. The steel battleship exploded into fragments, and a portion fell to Earth under the influence of gravity. And the other part, if fireworks bloom. The molten liquid metal under the high temperature of the nuclear explosion is like a rainstorm, which covers the entire Earth fleet in red. Bang, bang, bang. Scattered fragments, densely packed like hail, numerous Earth fleets that have not yet reacted have been pierced through one after another. Ganges, Columbia, Justice, Masada, Proton Star-class battleships were shattered and devoured by nuclear fusion fireballs. Then the mountain-like wreckage of warships and rainstorm-like hot liquid metal burst out. Make the already chaotic battlefield even more dangerous. Dodge. The electromagnetic defense network is fully deployed. Don't worry about those small fragments, all the electromagnetic cannons lock onto the giant wreckage. Amidst the sky exploding, someone roared in anger like this. Next moment. At the core of the explosion, a star-class battleship, resembling a giant mountain, opened up its electromagnetic defense and emerged from the endless flames. That's the Yen Emperor. Evading fragments in the interstellar cemetery, frantically fleeing. Report the battlefield situation, scan every giant wreckage. Scan the location of water droplets. On the Yen Emperor's ship, a yellow man in his 30s roared, his whole body covered in complex blue technological beams. His name is Cheng Kuan, and he is the captain of the Yen Emperor. He is a human from ancient China during the Golden Age and has witnessed the chaos of the Trisolaran civilization that first arrived on Earth. The prudence left by the previous era gives Cheng Kuan a more cautious personality than the Starship era. When Dr. Ding Yi came into contact with water droplets, He ordered the warship to exit autonomous driving and switch to manual operation, personally controlling it. This caution saved the lives of 983 people throughout the entire fleet. Yendi, move forward 2. The Azure power nozzle blasted out a 100-meter flame. 36 independent nuclear-powered engines put the Yen Emperor into action, and under the precise operation of Chen Kun, it frantically avoided countless incoming wreckage. Report the situation. Chen Kun roared angrily. Yes. Report to the captain. The nuclear power compartment is intact. The 8th, 6th, and 30-second propulsion devices are damaged. A large area of wreckage has been detected 30 miles ahead. Please apply to activate the battlefield defense system. After a brief panic, everyone on the Starship also calmed down, like a precise red wheel, quickly starting to rotate. Open. With Chen Kun's roar, blue electromagnetic cannons rushed out one after another, and the scorching firepower intercepted large pieces of debris. However, there were still many fragments that passed through the electromagnetic defense, crossed the firepower net, and crashed the warship with a creaking sound. Contact the surrounding warships, open the protective net together, and fight against debris and water. Boom. Before the words could be finished, a large flame could be heard in the distance. Chen Kun's eyes are about to crack. The flames of Shenong and Forward Storm. It was just a fleeting moment in front of me. In just a few seconds, the Far East, Foggy Point, Antarctica, and Extreme also exploded one after another. They were just a few seconds longer than the Yen Emperor, and then exploded into fragments in the endless interstellar debris. Bastard! How could that be so? Chen Kun's eyes are about to crack. It's just a small detector of a three-body civilization, how could it be like this? Just relying on such a tiny detector, it has destroyed the entire human interstellar fleet. Is this the three-body civilization? Captain! Be careful. Just then, an anxious voice rang out. Chen Kun quickly looked up and his pupils suddenly contracted. Because in front of the Yen Emperor, several kilometers-long battleship wreckage suddenly appeared. With the current speed of the Yen Emperor, it is impossible to avoid it. Even not just ahead. On the left, right, up, down, and even behind, there are all the wreckage being pushed forward by the explosion. And at the end of that wreckage, there seemed to be a faint blue rainbow shining through the void. Chen Kun is tightly gripping the lever in his hand. With endless unwillingness in his eyes. Still can't escape. Is there such a huge gap between humans and a three-body civilization? And just as Chen Kun's face turned pale and everyone on the fleet showed despair, wait. Where are you looking? What is this? Something. Suddenly, someone shouted from above the fleet. Not yet waiting for Chen Kun to react, a blazing white light suddenly shone into the entire Yen Emperor ship. Chen Kun instinctively turned his head and looked into the distance. Then he saw a magnificent scene that he could never forget in his lifetime. That seems to be a clear glow. Rising from the azure planet. It stretches for about 10,000 zhang, like a crescent moon. When it first appeared, it was very small, but in the blink of an eye, it appeared in the pitch-black universe. Shining with clear radiance, pure white and crystal clear. It is beautiful as if it is not something in this world, but it carries a terrifying aura that seems to tear apart all things. Just a glance, Chen Kun's eyes suddenly shed blood. The dazzling glow flashed by, crossing the world. Although it was only the size of 10,000 zhang, it felt like a cutting edge, drawing a white thin line in the endless universe of lava and molten iron. Next moment. The terrifying universe battlefield that stretches for thousands or even tens of thousands of miles is directly divided in two by this white line. Wherever the white line passes, endless debris and molten iron are torn apart into thumb-sized shattered blocks. Among the battleships of the Yen Emperor, Chen Kun and many fleet members suddenly widened their eyes, and their hearts almost missed a beat. I just feel cold all over my body, hands and feet. This his mother. What is the situation? Next up. Before the many people on board the Yen Emperor battleship could react, the clear glow seemed to strike a crystal-clear drop of water. Ping pong. Chen Kun widened his eyes. It seems that in the absolutely silent universe where sound cannot be transmitted, a clear crisp sound was heard. Then click and wipe, a scorching white light erupted. It's like a small neutron star exploding, or like a white sun slowly rising. It's more like thousands of nuclear bombs exploding simultaneously. The dazzling light permeates all directions. The terrifying shock wave transforms into a circle, directly vaporizing all the wreckage and items of warships within a radius of thousands of miles. Endless impact, spreading the entire universe battlefield. On the battlefield, countless items were thrown away. Even the Star-class battleship Yen-D, which is extremely far away, was hit by this impact and rolled over one after another. Large pieces of armor fell off, and the entire battleship made a tartly creaking sound. Chen Kun opened his mouth and spewed out a mouthful of old blood, his whole body being crushed by the terrifying impact behind the cockpit, and he fainted on the spot. Throughout the entire Yen Emperor ship, countless figures spat blood at their mouths, trembled all over, and fainted on the spot. Rolling impact spreads to heaven and earth. At this moment. Not just in space. Even on the distant earth, countless people saw the flickering white light, lifted their heads, and their faces were shocked. Old author's new book, quality guaranteed. The first day score is very important, and the requirements are not high. As long as there are 30 comments on the first day, even 123 is fine. Starting from the 15th on the first day. Chapter 6. Destruction. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The huge building stands on the ground like an eggshell, with bright lights and starlight surrounding it. This is the above-ground headquarters of the Earth International Fleet, heavily guarded to the point where not a single mosquito can fly in. Europe, North America, Asia. Here, there are countless high-end technological talents from the three major federations. Since the establishment of the Star Fleet 2 centuries ago, it has transmitted countless instructions to the universe and created tens of thousands of miracles of humanity in space. Once mentioned, it is synonymous with tranquility and composure, and is the holy see in the hearts of all researchers. But today, the previously calm and composed eggshell has completely exploded. Bastard! Does anyone know what's going on? What's the origin of that water droplet? How could it be so terrifying? It's just a detector. Calculate the trajectory. All mathematicians come over and quickly calculate the trajectory of water droplets. Where are the water droplets detected? Organize evacuation. The piercing alarm kept ringing, and researchers in white coats were frantically tapping back and forth on the computer, with a grim expression and pale complexion. Earth Fleet International Call. Asian Fleet. European Fleet. North American Fleet. Is there anyone else who can receive messages? Received, please answer. A huge screen reflects the battlefield in the universe. Rather than being a battlefield, it is more appropriate to say it is a cemetery. Before the arrival of water droplets, everyone had a contemptuous attitude towards the three-body civilization. This confidence stems from 2 centuries of technological development. There is also a steel Great Wall formed by the formation of more than 2,000 Star-class space warships in a queue across the universe. Although there was a scene where Zhang Beihai led the natural selection to escape before the start of the war, it did not undermine anyone's confidence. Looking at the steel fleet that almost covers the entire front of the Earth, all hearts have the flame of victory dancing. But this confidence was mercilessly extinguished after a few minutes. Not even a single spark remained. Large areas of interstellar battleships were ignited. If nuclear fusion causes a fireball to erupt, millions of tons of metallic liquid emitting a dark red glow will emit radioactive bursts. Like more than 10 blooming flower buds, it forms hot metal magma rainstorm in the dark universe. Spread the formation, spread the formation. Escape and avoid, don't resist hard, protect the core of the warship. Looking at the warships exploding in the universe, countless people in the Earth International Fleet are almost crazy. One command after another, countless barrage of bullets erupted, almost completely destroying the surface of the planet. But in front of water droplets, all human beings are so pale and powerless. Countless melting warships erupted one after another, causing a second blow with metal lava and debris. Looking from afar, it seems like countless bright red flowers are blooming in the distant space. After that, it becomes an ocean of metal lava. The water droplets penetrated the first row of the Joint Fleet Matrix formation in 1 minute and 18 seconds, searching for battleships. Then, with a completely impossible angle, it rushed into the second row. 1 minute and 20 seconds later, there were 100 bloody rainstorm. The Third Fleet had already reacted, and many ship captains roared as they launched forward too, hoping to use the massive nuclear power reaction to break out of destruction. But water droplets make eerie and complex sharp turns in the air at an extremely fast speed. Each one is almost a sharp angle, flying in an almost devilish manner. There is no stagnation between extreme motion, as if the terrifying inertial force completely disappears, piercing through one interstellar battleship after another. It's faster this time. In just 50 seconds, it penetrated through all the warships attempting to leave in the third column. Next, the water droplets, like the shadow of God's pen, are driven by a space agency method that completely surpasses human understanding, completely ignoring the dynamics and making lightning shuttles in space like electrocardiograms. Like the embroidery needle of death, before the Fourth Fleet could run far, it pierced through all the warships with a line of death. A magnificent flame explodes in the pitch-black universe. In just a few minutes, almost half of the technological achievements of 2 centuries of humanity have been destroyed. Everyone looked at the huge screen and felt a chill rush from head to toe. Despair struck, making their breath almost frozen. This screen is hundreds of meters in size, originally intended to watch the heroic victory of the human fleet, but now it is like hell opening its huge mouth, completely devouring everything. The terrifying despair has made all members of the Earth Fleet International feel cold and helpless. They were convulsing all over, with bloodshot spots in their pupils, roaring wildly and shouting one strategy after another. But all the countermeasures were easily destroyed by the violent impact of water droplets over 3 meters away. Even to the end. Even the person in charge of ground operations has become numb. I can only watch one fireball after another, symbolizing the crystallization of human technology, explode in space. Silent. Cold. Dazzling. It seems to be calmly telling a truth. Destroy you. What does it have to do with you? Evacuation. Evacuation. Evacuate the fleet. In the entire battle hall, everyone collapsed on chairs in despair, with a scene of despair reflected in their pupils. There is only one old-era blonde man still commanding unwillingly. The Earth has been developing for over 200 years. 2,000 Star-class warships, like magnificent fireworks, have not yet truly clashed, but have vanished invisibly. Everyone fell onto the chairs. Silent despair enveloped everyone. Survive, even if you survive one, it's good. You bastards, take action. What are you doing? The blonde man angrily cursed, operating countless screens alone. And at this moment, everyone seemed to hear a crisp sound of ping-pong. The next moment, a magnificent incandescent light suddenly shone on the entire screen. The terrifying shockwave suddenly swept through the shattered universe cemetery. Everyone widened their eyes in despair when they saw this shockwave. Is this incandescent color caused by water droplets exploding on their own? P.S. Kneeling for flower collection evaluation ticket. Chapter 7. Shocking Earth, like a sword from a Immortal. You are listening at novel full.audio. This fluctuation is really terrifying. Even under the noon sunlight of the Earth, you can see that flickering light. In the Earth Fleet International, everyone's face is as pale as gold paper. Even the golden-haired man from the old era collapsed on the ground powerless and with blood-red eyes. It's over. It's all over. Everyone looks pale. When water droplets have not yet exploded and are still hovering in the air, it is easy to pierce through countless warships. Now, the water droplet has exhausted its strength and exploded in the air. In this wave, almost all the Earth fleets have been destroyed. The silent incandescent light flickered above the Earth. Above the northern hemisphere, countless humans seem to have noticed something, subconsciously lifting their heads and gazing at the twinkling rays of light the size of fingernails in the air, which are shocking. This incandescent light lasted for a full 20 seconds. After the incandescent light disappeared, everything calmed down. In the space battlefield beyond Earth, it has completely turned into a grave, with no living creatures left, only large hot metal clouds that have not yet fully expanded and are still erupting. In the Earth International Fleet, everyone looked at the unexploded cemetery as if their souls had been drained. The only detector that destroys all human space power is the three-body world. 9 of the same detectors will arrive in the solar system in 3 years. Even if these 10 detectors add up to expand thousands of times, they are not half the size of any ship in the Earth fleet. And it's just 1/10 of the power, a drop of seawater splashing out from the ocean of three-body technology. It is the destruction of all human defenses. And just as everyone is facing all of this in despair, sha. In the silent screen, suddenly came a burst of electric current. Then an anxious voice suddenly rang out in the silent hall. Qing Kuan calls Earth. The Yen Emperor calls the Earth International Fleet. The Yen Emperor calls the Earth International Fleet. Received, please answer. The anxious voice focused everyone's empty eyes and instinctively looked towards the huge screen. The next moment. Amidst the endless burst of fiery snakes, a scorching electromagnetic beam suddenly emanated. Flaming tongues burst into pieces in the sky. A huge steel battleship, charging out from an endless hot metal storm. It had dozens of huge metal chains protruding from its body, entwined with the closest arc and summer. The 2 warships have lost power and are in a state of disrepair, but the personnel inside have not died. 9 of the 30.6 nuclear-powered thrusters of the Yen Emperor are still operational. The broken hull shone with red and green indicator lights, like a sharp sword, tearing through the silent darkness. In the Earth command room, everyone looked at the battleship, which was like the last ray of light, and the wooden stool was stunned. After a brief silence, the eyes of those who were already almost desperate burst into tears. These scientists, who have been famous internationally for a long time, have been cheering like a landslide and tsunami. There are still people alive. Our Earth fleet has not been completely destroyed yet. We humans have not completely extinguished all hope. The blond man got up first, wiped away his tears, grabbed the communicator, and roared excitedly. Earth International Fleet received. This is the Earth International Fleet. The Yen Emperor will return quickly. How did you survive the self-explosion of water droplets? All the researchers suddenly perked up their ears, wiped away their tears, and desperately wanted to listen to the answer of the Yen Emperor ship. Do you know how terrifying that incandescent light is? The temperature inside is definitely thousands or even tens of thousands of times higher than the temperature of a nuclear bomb explosion. Even metals will vaporize in an instant. Infinitely approaching the temperature of the sun. How did the Yen Emperor survive in this almost desperate explosion? How does he resist water droplets? Even saved 2 other warships. All the researchers held their breath, and the atmosphere dared not breathe, because this discovery may be the last resort to combat the Trisolaran civilization. The electromagnetic sound on the screen rustled for several minutes. The Yen Emperor seems to be preparing wording on board. It was not until a long time later that Qing Kuan's hoarse voice gradually emerged. No. Command room. Water droplets do not self-destruct. No self-explosion. The researchers were all stunned for a moment. Water droplets are eliminated, Chen Kun spoke in a deep voice. Water droplets were eliminated. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Then he suddenly widened his eyes. Water droplets. Was it eliminated? What's going on here? You should know that based on Dr. Ding Yi's brief contact during his lifetime, it is almost certain that this water droplet was formed through a strong interaction force. Strong interaction force is the strongest force among all forces in nature, with a strength 100 times that of electromagnetic force. But it can only work at extremely short distances inside the atomic nucleus. The scale of an atomic nucleus differs greatly from that of an atom. If the atom is the size of a theater, the atomic nucleus is only the size of a walnut. Propose atoms, condense countless atomic nuclei into water droplets through strong forces, and create weapons with only atomic nuclei, with hardness almost comparable to the core of a neutron star. This technology has exceeded the imagination of human technology. And now, this water droplet, which is as hard as the core of a neutron star, has been eliminated. Did other extraterrestrial civilizations intervene? On Earth, everyone is completely stunned. In the distant universe, Chen Kun on board the Yen Emperor seem to have guessed their thoughts. There is no intervention from other civilizations. The power to destroy water droplets comes from Earth. That power comes from the Earth. It carries the wave of tearing apart all things, just sweeping across and cutting off all metal storms. With a dreamy clear glow, it slashed on the high-speed moving water droplets. Taking a deep breath, Chen Kun's tone seemed to carry a sense of incredulity. Like the Immortal Sword. Chapter 2, Kneeling for Evaluation Tickets and Flowers. Chapter 8 Earth. Did humans win? You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Immortal, Immortal Sword. In the command center of the Earth International Fleet, it is quiet. Everyone's eyes widened. This is what does it mean? On Earth, countless people are horrified. On the Yen Emperor ship, Chen Kun, whose 7 orifices were bleeding from the aftershocks caused by a water droplet explosion, fell onto a chair out of his wits. The shining sword light breaks through the sky and arrives. Rise from the earth, tear apart all things. At the moment when the sword light appeared, it seemed as if the entire universe was making way for it. It's just an instant. What explosion, what wreckage, what nuclear reaction cloud, what metal lava storm, all of them have been cut off. It's even as if the endless universe has been cut off. All things, from the sword light as the center, are fiercely divided into two. The sunlight falls, and the entire universe is clearly defined. At that time, Chen Kun was too shocked to react, only being overwhelmed by the stunning scene and unable to breathe. But at this moment, it's just memories. It feels like my hands and feet are cold, my whole body is trembling. The killing intent and sword aura emanating from the body were like tens of thousands of ants penetrating into the body. Let Chen Kun, who was already seriously injured, open his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. This is what's going on. What exactly is the origin of that sword light? Why is it so terrifying? Just looking back, is it so uncomfortable? According to the wartime scan of the ship, it seems to be from above Earth, as if it is from Kunlun. But I have never heard of such terrifying weapons on the Kunlun Mountains. Listening to the noisy sound coming from the Earth International Fleet Command Center in the transmitter, Chen Kun wiped away the blood from the corners of his mouth. He fulfilled his duties as a captain and carefully explained everything he knew in detail. Upon hearing Chen Kun's words, everyone in the command center of the Earth International Fleet was also shocked. Sword Qi. Qing Hui. Tear apart all things in heaven and earth. One sword cuts through the metal storm, one sword explodes water droplets. What exactly is this? Just imagination, they feel a surge of blood boiling all over their bodies. Listening to Chen Kuan's serious description, countless members of the Earth International Fleet lit up their eyes. But soon, someone noticed something was wrong. Sword Chi. Captain Chen Kuan, although I really want to believe everything you say is true. This is too unscientific. In the command center, there is a white-haired official who is pressing on his temples and opening his mouth with a bitter smile. According to the footage transmitted by Dr. Ding Yi before, the water droplets of the three-body civilization were formed based on strong interactions within atomic nuclei. Its hardness is comparable to the core of a neutron star, far exceeding any substance on Earth. Although I don't want to admit it, there is absolutely no substance on Earth that can cause harm to water droplets. Upon hearing the old man's words, many people in the command center immediately fell silent. Yeah. If we compare the water droplets of the three-body civilization to a diamond, then the hardest product that human technology can condense today is basically like spider silk. Even if a lot of spider silk is condensed together, it is impossible to cause any damage to the diamond. I am more inclined to believe that the strong interaction forces within the water droplets have changed, or that it may be due to the depletion of their own energy. In the universe, the total amount of matter remains constant. The so-called sword energy soaring to the sky, cutting off water droplets is too abstract. Upon hearing these words, many researchers nodded one after another. Although they wanted to believe Chen Kuan's words, reason gradually told them that all of this was completely impossible. Captain Chen Kuan, I have just scanned Kunlun Mountain and according to real-time computer monitoring, there is no ultra-high energy reaction here. And according to the satellite's message, there is no light rushing out from above the Earth. Did you experience an illusion at some moment due to the Big Bang? Illusions. On the Yen Emperor's ship, Chen Kuan let out a bitter smile. The previous water droplet explosion not only caused an impact, but also brought terrifying electromagnetic waves. I thought there would be records in the fleet, but those records were almost completely destroyed by electromagnetic waves just after being stored. The electromagnetic waves emitted towards the Earth were destroyed in an instant. Previously, he had contacted the other two battleships, Ark and Daxia, but there was no storage available. After all, in the face of countless A-level alarm sounds from warship explosions, a C.level energy response alarm is simply too inconspicuous. And those two warships were even more thoroughly damaged than the Yen Emperor. The module responsible for storing alarms was already blown away by the wreckage. I don't know where is all of this really my illusion. So this illusion is too real, isn't it? Regardless of how Chen Kuan pondered, the explosion of water droplets was ultimately a fact. Despite its unimaginable devastating impact on the human fleet, the entire human space fleet was left with only 3 dilapidated constant star battleships. But whether it's luck or anything else, humans have finally barely managed to withstand a disaster. This is like the last ray of hope, making everyone grab the straw that saves lives. The three-body civilization is not invincible. But all 3 senior federal officials know that the scene in front of them, whether it is considered a victory or not, cannot change anything in the end. There are still 9 water droplets on the road, which will arrive on Earth in a few years. Before that, humans must establish a more complete defense. After an emergency meeting of the Asian Federation, European Federation, and North American Federation, it was decided to make this news public globally. But there was no specific announcement of casualties, only the news of victory was conveyed. Because today's humanity needs a big victory, even if it's a white lie. And almost as soon as the news of the war was spread among the 3 major federations, countless people on and off the Earth immediately became boiling. Ha ha ha. Winning. I knew Earth had won. That's right. What does the 3-body civilization count? After 2 centuries of preparation on Earth, we are no longer inferior to you. Although we won, I'm afraid we also paid a considerable price. The report did not provide a detailed explanation of the war damage situation. But even if that's the case, what's wrong? Earth warships are amazing, aerospace carriers are amazing. Although it is the first collision, it represents that human civilization has gained the capital to compete head-on with the three-body civilization. Humans have stood up since then. I knew spending so much to create an aerospace carrier was right. The Earth fleet is unparalleled. The Earth fleet is an international powerhouse. Salute to the pioneers of humanity. Countless people on Earth cheer for this great victory. Everyone is thrilled by this news. Human beings have been suppressed under the threat of the three-body for too long. The current victory is like a long drought with sweet dew, making all humans extremely excited. Only in distant underground cities I have vaguely figured out the key to the matter and am ready to use the Dark Forest Law to threaten the Trisolar civilization to stop attacking Earth at any time. I'm a bit confused. He stared at the information in front of the screen, a moment of confusion. The human fleet defeated the Trisolar civilization. This is what is the situation. Have humans won? Chapter 9. The Secret of Kunlun. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Dungeon. Since the arrival of GZ 2 centuries ago and the lockdown of Earth's basic scientific civilization, humanity has been divided into surface civilization and underground cities. Nowadays, most of the above-ground cities are inhabited by humans from the old era, who have revived after hibernation and are not adapted to underground cities, so they have gone to live there. Compared to surface civilization, underground cities are more magnificent and advanced, and are the core of today's economy and politics. Here, high-definition projection screens can be seen everywhere, and countless flying cars shuttle through the towering buildings. There is a huge screen above the city, reflecting a deep blue sky and warm sunshine. Coupled with the ubiquitous breeze system of the entire underground city, the underground city is almost indistinguishable from the ground, and even more relaxed and enjoyable. Ha ha ha. Humanity has won. I knew that human preparation cannot be useless. The Trisolar civilization is ultimately a failure. Ahahaha. The fleet is amazing. From now on, I want to see who dares to say that humans can't do it. On the wide street, countless people were excited to celebrate as they watched the latest news from the combined fleet. Human beings have won. Faced with the attack of the three-body civilization, humanity has finally won. This means that from then on, humans no longer have to worry or shrink back. This fills everyone's hearts with excitement. Ha ha ha. In celebration of the Earth fleet's complete victory, all of our items today are free. Let's all enjoy drinking. Enough. Labor and capital are also willing to go all out, and the drinks at the Deek Bar are all free today. Let's have a great time. Excitedly, each store opened up clearly and hung up a free sign. Countless people holding wine glasses, walking on the streets, indulging in revelry. For the Star Fleet. Salute to the pioneers. Respect human civilization. On a distant high-rise building, Luo-ji looked at the news in his hand with a complex expression to the extreme. Humanity has won. But humans have not achieved victory either. Under the bright blue sky, Luo-ji, dressed in a black windbreaker and with a scruffy beard, slowly lit a cigarette. The sunlight from the synthesis of ideas shone on the tall building ahead, casting deep shadows onto the narrow platform, burying Luo-ji in the darkness. Captain Cheng, I still want to hear you repeat many things that happened before, Luo-ji said. The azure projection sparkles with light. There is a square holographic image next to Luo-ji. Among them was Captain Cheng Kuan of the Yen Emperor, whose expression was extremely tired. That's it, Dr. Luo-ji. Everything is very cruel. This is not our victory at all. No one knows how water droplets break, and even I doubt if everything is an illusion. The entire interstellar fleet, in addition to the senior Zhang Beihai's natural selection, also has 5 battleships pursuing the past, including the Blue Space, Enterprise, Deep Space, and Ultimate Law. According to Dr. Ding Yi's early entry into deep sea mode, all fleets of the Quantum and Bronze Age were destroyed. We lost 10,000 people this time. Upon hearing these words, Luo Ji's eyes became increasingly gloomy. I see. Can you describe what happened back then again? Please make sure to tell me all the details. Chen Kun sighed slightly, and out of respect for the ancient wall facers from 2 centuries ago, he slowly recounted the painful memories. I took a hard puff on my cigarette. Luo Ji listened to Chen Kun's words with a deep gaze. As the sword wielder of ancient humans, the only human who has been assassinated by the Trisolaran civilization, Luo Ji naturally has the right to know the truth. At first, looking at the announcement released by the International Combined Fleet, Luo Ji's heart was filled with excitement. As a human of the old era, no one knows better than him what kind of oppression it was when facing the 3-body civilization in the beginning. Jizi descended, locking down Earth's technology. Countless scientists committed suicide in despair. The entire human civilization has fallen into fear. Especially during this encounter with the 3-body civilization, Luo Ji was extremely cautious. Before the water droplets arrived, Luo Ji still held on to the dark forest law and prepared for the worst. Be ready to deter the stagnation of the Trisolaran civilization from attacking the Earth at any time. Although he cannot be 100% certain that the dark forest law is indeed useful, he has no way out. But what he didn't expect was that Jizi actually self-destructed and destroyed it. The dark jungle rule in his hand didn't come into use. The human fleet has won. But it is not a victory for humanity. Water droplets slaughtered most of the entire fleet and found that they could not completely win, then brazenly self-destructed, destroying all the living forces of the human fleet. Although this is a victory for humanity, the cost paid is too heavy. And in case what if it weren't a self-explosion? Listening to Chen Kun's words, a glimmer of hope flashed in Luo Ji's eyes. What if there is really a spark on Earth that can deal with the 3-body civilization? Luo Ji's rationality told him that this kind of spark almost does not exist, and there is no hope on Earth to deal with the 3-body civilization. But what if there really is one? Even the smallest strand. Luo Ji doesn't want to give up either. Because if it weren't for the last minute, he really wouldn't want to use the Dark Forest Law. The Dark Forest Law. The curse on the stars 2 centuries ago. That is the cosmic social relationship he comprehended based on Yi Wenjie's words. There are 2 timeless truths in the universe. 1. Survival is the first necessity of civilization. 2. Civilization continues to grow and expand, but the total amount of matter in the universe remains unchanged. In this process, suspicion chains and technological explosions were introduced, and after a long process of deduction, this rule was logically derived. If we treat the universe as a jungle, it is an absolutely dark jungle. Every civilization is a hunter with a gun, lurking in the forest like a ghost. They gently pushed aside the branches blocking the way, trying their best not to make any sound from their footsteps, even breathing cautiously. He must be careful. Because there are hunters lurking everywhere in the forest like him. If they discover another life, there is only one choice. Shoot and eliminate it. Whether weak, strong, immature or mature. The only way out is to eliminate it. Eliminate by any means possible. Because if we don't eliminate them, then we will destroy ourselves. And his trump card for the Trisolaran civilization is the Dark Jungle Law. As long as he sends out the coordinates of the Trisolaran civilization in the Dark Jungle, one day it will be eliminated as a result. And even the Earth civilization, which is extremely close to the 3-body, cannot escape the fate of collapse. So until the last minute, Luo Ji really doesn't want to use this rule. Once used, the entire human world will have no hope again. The gray smoke made Luo Ji's face look a bit gloomy. Quickly, Chen Kun recounted the previous scene. Looking at the silent Luo Ji, Chen Kun couldn't help but ask. Dr. Luo Ji, we are all people who have survived from the old era. I respect you very much. Do you think we have any hope of victory in the face of the three-body civilization? A drop of water is so difficult, but behind it, there are still 9 more. Humans will win. Before Chen Kun could finish speaking, Luo Ji interrupted his words. He looked up, surrounded by fireworks, gazing at the deep blue sky in the distance, with deep eyes. Humanity will definitely win. Chen Kun smiled bitterly at the words. I hope so. Taking a deep breath, Luo Ji forcefully crushed the cigarette in his hand and spoke in a low voice. Chen Kun, call on the most elite members of your fleet and come back to Kunlun with me. Remember to help me call the Shur, that police thug. Going to Kunlun. Chen Kun was stunned for a moment. Why go? According to satellite detection, there is nothing in the Kunlun Mountains. Yeah, why? What's the use of going if I can't even detect satellites? You should know that the entire Earth is still under the surveillance of Jizi now, 2 centuries have passed. What else am I going to do desperately? The so-called wall-facer plan has long been abandoned. I was killed halfway. A gentle breeze blew by. The colorless wind brought up Luo Ji's black hair at the temples. Looking at the magnificent city in the distance and the countless revelers, Luo Ji suddenly thought that these people were all his descendants, right? After all, I was born 200 years earlier than them. Isn't it normal for the older generation to work hard for their descendants? Just go ahead and do it, just consider it a favor. Slowly lowering his head, Luo Ji lit a cigarette. Spit out a smoke ring. Deep and profound eyes. This is part of the plan. Kneeling down to collect and evaluate flowers, asking for some data, thank you all readers. Chapter 10. The Shock of Space Civilization. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the dungeon, countless people cheered for the victory of the Starfleet. In the dark corner, Luo Ji lit a cigarette and arrived at the elevator in the center of the Earth, preparing to go to the ground. He met with Captain Chen Kun of the Yen Emperor and went to Kunlun together. The 3 major federations of the Earth are also holding an emergency meeting, almost in a state of dispute, anxiously seeking strategies to deal with the upcoming 9 water droplets. During this period, they repeatedly retrieved wartime footage of the Yen Emperor and 2 other Asian fleets, attempting to observe how the water droplets actually broke. But the high-definition camera that is capable of observing molecular movement levels cannot capture anything at all. Just a faint glimmer of silver seemed to flash by, and Jizi exploded into pieces. In the end, I had no choice but to give up and contemplate other means. On Earth, countless high-level personnel have taken action, 9 water droplets are about to arrive, and the 3-body civilization is imminent, unable to tolerate them for a moment. And in the distant universe on the side of the Trisolaran civilization, they also received images of water droplets returning. The pitch-black space is cold and silent. The starry sky covers here, but it never brings any warmth to the universe. Amidst the radiance, there were over 300 faint spots of light. At first, it was very small, like dust. But in the next breath, they appeared in front of them, and they were incredibly grand. At the moment of the 3rd breath, they crossed over here and reappeared at the back of space, the size of dust. This is nothing else, it is the fleet of the Trisolaran civilization. More than 300 space warships, divided into 2 parts, with a speed of 1/20th that of light. The distance between the 2 is 90 million miles. This distance is definitely not far in the vast universe, but when encountering unexpected situations, there will be at least reaction time, so as not to be completely destroyed. The Trisolaran fleet is composed of material spheres. Each of these spheres is tens of miles in size, with an absolute radiance and roundness on their surface, reflecting vast amounts of starlight and cosmic rays. The strong interaction forces formed a layer of atomic film on the surface of the fleet that was identical to the meteorite. The material and information emitted can perfectly disguise one's own fluctuations as meteorites or meteors, avoiding all exploration. The three-body fleet is advancing silently. And inside those spheres, there are intricate channels like ant nests. These channels are all made of unknown materials, like diamonds, shining with an azure glow, and countless symbols and graphics are conveyed in them, making them look particularly dreamy. Front, back, left, right, up, down, all the space that can be utilized is stored in the cortex. These leathers are about millions, rolled up into a scroll-like shape, densely stacked together. From time to time, there will be crystal-clear water droplets the size of a human head, moving at a constant speed under the reaction force and scattering them evenly on these leather paintings. These cortices are nothing else. It is the trisolarans. 3 days in the same sky, in extreme environments, trisolarans have evolved the ability to dehydrate and hibernate. In the central sphere of the Second Fleet, several lives are active. They are about 2 meters in humanoid form. The limbs are slender, and the entire body is a mirror of absolute radiance, with no visible organs. They are suspended in the air, like ghosts, their bodies shining with a faint tricolor light, like exquisite pieces of art. Due to the lack of organs and environment, trisolarans abandoned their language abilities and evolved into more efficient brainwave communication, similar to telepathy. In the past, the brainwave conversations between individuals with 3 body types were absolutely calm and rational. But today, these 3 body people are clearly a bit anxious. Sir. According to the previous news, the water droplets sent to the human civilization Earth have failed. It has been destroyed. The leader is a 3-figure over 2 meters tall, with even thinner limbs and a larger physique. His shining light is actually a bright 4-color beam. Feeling the brainwave, these 3 body people were clearly stunned for a moment. Has the water droplet been destroyed? How could this be possible? Based on observation and speculation, the human civilization on Earth has not yet reached the level of first civilization, and there is a technological gap of 6 eras compared to us. Under the lockdown of Earth science by Gizi, even when we arrive, humanity still has 2 to 3 technological gaps with us. The hardness of water drops is comparable to that of neutron stars, even nuclear stars. All means of human civilization should be like foam in front of it, and there can be no countermeasures. The trisolarans who came to report were covered in intense flashes of tricolor light, and their brainwaves were extremely anxious. Sir. Take a look at this. The screen has been transmitted. The trisolarans led by him took over and looked at it with suspicion. At first, these trisolarans were particularly calm, as it was expected that the Earth fleet would be crushed by water droplets. Isn't this normal? Arranging a rectangular fleet, what are you sitting on? A demonstration by ants. Sir, just keep reading and you'll know. The other 3 body people flickered anxiously. Continuing to doubt, he lowered his head and looked around, but the 3 body person led by him still didn't quite understand what was going on. In the picture, water droplets are recklessly destroying, causing one warship after another to turn into a ball of fire and dissipate. But in the blink of an eye, it's just a space battleship that has penetrated more than 900. As water droplets were about to pierce through the last few warships, suddenly a ray of light appeared in the picture without any warning. This light was too sudden and came too quickly, even the leading 3 body person didn't react. Just looking at a flash of brilliance. The water droplets that were originally being slaughtered recklessly suddenly stiffened in place. Ping-pong, in the vacuum universe, it seems that such a sound has come from. On the smooth surface of the water droplets, cracks appeared one after another. Next moment. About 3 meters of water droplets exploded with a loud bang. The incandescent light swept across all directions with a loud roar. Waves like the cracking of an asteroid, sweeping across all directions. What's going on here? Water droplets. Exploded. Looking at all of this, the body of the leading 3 body person trembled with a tremor. The four-colored light shone fiercely, and his original mirror-like appearance even raised scales. Without saying a word, he directly slowed down the screen 1,000 times. But still unable to see the picture clearly, it was still just a flash of light, completely unable to capture the object of the broken water droplets. 10,000 times. Still shining with light, unable to capture. Million times. Shining light. After slowing down millions of times, these three-body people finally saw this scene clearly. That is a semicircular arc of light that resembles glass, with a particularly similar appearance to the moon seen on Earth. It rushed out of the Earth at an ordinary speed that cannot be captured. Spanning countless distances, with a massive body measuring tens of thousands of zhang, he accurately and quickly chopped straight onto a water droplet of about 3 meters. Sharp light explodes. Surprisingly, the water droplets with strong interaction forces and hardness comparable to neutron stars or even nuclear stars were directly removed. Divide into two on the spot. The incision shines like a mirror.